42. Number 42. Sodomito song. Lord, in thy presence here we meet. May we in thee be found. Oh, make the place divinely sweet, and let thy grace abound. With harmony thy servants bless, that we may unto thee. How good, how sweet, how pleasant 'tis, when brethren all agree. May Zion's good be kept in view, and bless our feeble aid, that all we undertake to do may glorify thy name.
Your announcements. Well, let's be very thankful that Sister Rita feels well enough to be here tonight, and we want to continue to pray for her. Brother Reed went home yesterday, wasn't it? And he seems to be doing well, and we'll thank you for praying for Lynn. And then we have a few others. Sister Betty, Brother Dan Lynn, they're sick with COVID, evidently. And I think they're doing pretty well. And I think that there's probably more COVID going around now than the statistics show, because I figure people are doing the take-home test and it's not even being reported. But one good thing about it, the deaths have about been reduced to nil, and the hospitalizations are very low. So we're thankful the Lord delivered us through that. Now, is there anything that you want to add before we call on someone to lead us in prayer? So Brother Wiley and Sister Lizzie and Hannah and Sarah there en route to Chicago to attend the funeral of Brother Wiley's son-in-law, and so we'll pray that they'll have safe travel. Brother John Lindsay, will you pray for us, please? Amen. Thank you. You'll get a prophet's reward for that. Most of you probably know that World War II was pretty much over in 1945. And then in 1946, a tribunal was assembled at Nuremberg, Germany, made up of men from multiple nations, to put on trial the worst of the Nazi leadership and to charge them with the unimaginable cruelties that they had committed, being responsible for tens of millions of deaths, torture, slavery, such as still shocks the mind to this day. Well, the lead representative on this tribunal from the United States was the Supreme Court Justice who had been appointed by Harry Truman, and his name was Robert Jackson. And you would probably think that prosecuting Nazis ought to be an easy job. Anyone who had watched an episode of Perry Mason on TV ought to be able to do it. But the fact was, there was a formidable task for Robert Jackson and the others there who were seeking justice against these Nazi leaders, because whose law had they violated? If you will say they violated the laws of Mississippi, they were not under the jurisdiction of Mississippi. That would be a perilous world indeed, where you could be convicted for violating laws of some country on the other side of the world. They had not been under the jurisdiction of the United States or of Britain or of France or of Russia, the four countries that led up the prosecution in that great trial. And as for the laws of Germany, they were in compliance with their own law. In fact, they argued that they were just carrying out orders. And the defense attorneys for those Nazis, they argued the points that I've already brought up, that they had violated no law to which they were subject. And the defense also said this trial is itself injustice because we're making ex post facto application of law. That is, you're making up rules and then trying to charge people after the fact. Well, when Jackson got up to make his opening statement, he gave what the legal theory was going to be of the prosecution, that the Germans had violated laws of nature, that they had violated laws that are ingrained in the consciences of all rational men. They had committed what he called were crimes against humanity. The argument was based on what is commonly called natural law, inherent right and wrong, though you and I would call it the law of God. And years ago, this law was sometimes called the law of the nations. And what they meant when they called it the law of the nations, it was a law bigger than the nations, that superseded the laws of all nations, laws of right and wrong to which all men are liable, and all governments are liable to these laws, or natural law. Now, in contrast to natural law, there's what's called positive law. Positive law means law that's been codified by men. And the defense for the Nazis tried to say they violated no codified law or no positive law. But the prosecution said they violated laws of nature, or I should say they have violated natural law. Now, since that time, that trial has been greatly debated. And some people have picked at the approach used by the prosecution. Indeed, many have tried to question the relevance of natural law, the applicability of natural law, the definability of natural law, and quibble over the whole thing. And in fact, if we were to hold the Nuremberg trials today, I'm not sure we could convict those Nazis. Because all countries that were then represented have trended away from natural law. They want to deny natural law. First of all, they have trended towards agnosticism and atheism, so you have denied or dismissed the God that gives natural law authority. And then the next thing those nations have done, they're trying to condone, defend, and even promote some very unnatural behavior. It's going on in the press this week. They want to defend behavior that would be condemned by natural law, so they don't want to talk about natural law, or if they talk about it, only to criticize it. Well, let me tell you, the idea of natural law is demanded by conscience, and it's demanded by reason. It's demanded by reason because let's suppose that some government were to pass a law, a decree, saying that the world is flat. Would it then be flat? Would that make it any less round? That decree doesn't mean a thing. All right, now let's suppose we have a democratic society and we put this to a vote. Is the world flat or round? And just suppose everybody votes that the world is flat. Would that make it flat? No. It just makes everybody a liar. That's all it would do. It just proves that everybody's a liar. Let's suppose that a government were to pass a decree that everyone in a particular race were to be executed. Or it were to pass a decree that all women under a certain age would be executed. Would the fact that they are a government immunize them from the charge of murder? No. They're wrong. Murderous. Now let's suppose we were to put it to a national referendum. Who wants to vote that we kill all people of this race? I don't care how many people vote for it. It's wrong. And I think you agree with me. It's wrong. It's murder. If you agree with me on what I'm saying, then you believe in a natural law. You believe in right and wrong that is above the codified principles of men. And by the way, if you are an American, you should have a special fondness for natural law because our country was based on it. Let me read you some famous words from the Declaration of Independence. And I'm going to read you a little more than most people typically read. We hold these truths to be self-evident. What's he just endorsed? A natural law. a law that is above kings and queens. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles. By the way, to me, he stated one of the most important principles of government right there. If you can't get rid of it, it's wrong. It's wrong. It's that simple. If you can't get rid of it, it's wrong. All right, now, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. I know what he just said there. We understand that we do not overthrow governments over minor and transient differences. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty. Now that's the prepositional phrase I've been working for the last few minutes. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. It's their right, it is their duty, and I'll tell you there's a lot of people in this country that are failing under their duty, and as a consequence they're getting exactly what they deserve. One of those places is Jackson, Mississippi. You know, the travesty that we recently had on the fairgrounds. They got what they voted for. That's what they voted for. It is their right and their duty to do away with these governments. But all of that was based on truths that Thomas Jefferson said are self-evident truths. He is basing his arguments on natural law. Under natural law, the founding fathers of this country are heroes. Under positive law, they're criminals. They rebelled against England. They're criminals. That shows you what is at stake. This shows you how important the contrast and comparisons are between natural and positive law. All right, now, the Bible endorses a natural law. And you know, everybody is aware that the Bible teaches the Mosaic law, which would be a positive or codified law. But they don't think about just how much natural law is in the Bible. God destroyed more people in the Bible for violating natural law than he did for violating the Mosaic law. Think about the flood generation. There was no Mosaic law. Moses had not even been born. In fact, there was no codified commandment at all that those people violated. They violated commandments of conscience. They violated laws of nature. All right, let's come to Sodom and Gomorrah. That was before the Mosaic Law too. Those prohibitions against sodomy, they had not been written yet. But they committed transgressions against nature. All right, now, anyone who wishes to obfuscate the idea of a natural law needs to be warned that God adamantly disagrees with you. God believes there is a natural law. He believes it is definitive. He believes it is discernible, and that those who commit it have committed egregious offense. All right, now look at these arguments that Paul is going to give in Romans chapter 1 and see how these arguments are rooted in the idea of a natural law. He's commenting here on the people who lived in the times of the flood and the people who lived in the times of Sodom and Gomorrah. Romans 1:26. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men working with men that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which is meat. Did you notice that 3 times there he referred to nature? 3 times he referred to nature. Not once did he refer to the Mosaic Law. He never quoted anything from Deuteronomy. He never quoted anything from Leviticus. He didn't quote from any of the 10 Commandments. Those things didn't exist at the time these crimes were being committed. He talked about them being crimes against nature. When he said that these were things that received their just recompense, that the perpetrators did inflict upon themselves damage by what they did. This is reasoning from natural law. The fact that these things are destructive to ourselves and that these things are potentially destructive to our society ought to teach anyone that these things are wrong. All right, now, they received within themselves the recompense of their error, which is meat. They endured the consequences of what they did. Notice here, he does not call for the punishment of these people. He did not ask that they be thrown in jail or that they be hung. He said, they've already been punished. And I'm not calling for the persecution of these kind of people, but I'm telling you this. It is wrong to condone this behavior. It is wrong to promote this behavior and defend this behavior. It is in violation of natural law. All right, now, let's suppose somebody will say, oh, you're just a Bible bigot. You got your ideas from an old archaic book. Well, these things are condemned just as much by Darwinism as they are by the Bible. You know, Darwinism is the preferred doctrine of unbelievers. So, what does Darwinism say? That we are all here through a process of natural selection and survival of the fittest. We were produced by millions of minute mutations that were filtered through this survival of the fittest sieve. Well, tell me, would that process produce someone that destroyed their own babies? Would it? Let's get old Charles Darwin out of the grave and ask him. When you taught that doctrine did you conceive of it producing people who would destroy their own progeny? No. Darwinism should work in the opposite direction. Would Darwinism, survival of the fittest, would that produce homosexuality? No, because if everybody turns into that, we're not going to survive. The race is going to go extinct. So blast the Bible all you want. If you're an unbeliever, even your own laws teach that these things are unnatural, they are anomalous, they are the result of sickness, they are things that should be dealt with, not promoted. And then I pop on TV and it's just being promoted everywhere. You know, I understand that you don't want people like this harmed, but I don't want this stuff crammed down my throat either. You see? It's in violation of the laws of nature, and it is my duty as a Christian to tell all people that God will punish it. All right, now, look at this argument from natural law. Romans chapter 2, verse 14. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean, while accusing or else excusing one another. He said they have a law written in their hearts. Now, some people have wondered whether that's not written by regeneration, or is that the law that's written by nature? And the reason that we might argue that point is because both ideas are relevant. Both ideas are relevant. And when you've read as many people as I have who have tried to discredit the idea of natural law, they should be warned that this text says on the day of judgment, God's going to show that they believed in it more than they pretended. Their thoughts, which will then be revealed, will show they knew that it was wrong to kill. They knew it was wrong to steal another man's property. They knew it was wrong to kill a baby. Yes, they knew those things, and the fact they knew them will serve to their condemnation. All right, now, natural law also teaches us things about God himself. And all men are obligated. They are all liable to what this natural law teaches. So let's read Romans chapter 1, verse 18 with very few comments. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. They're without excuse for worshiping the gods they contrived, worshiping the idols they carved out. Because, Paul said, nature is sufficient to have taught them that the real God of heaven cannot be what you're claiming that he is. He must be far, far greater. Far greater. They're without excuse because that when they knew God in nature, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. So he's telling us here that men by nature have a greater knowledge of God than is reflected in their perverted religious beliefs and practices. And then watch what Galatians chapter 4, verse 8 says, where Paul was rebuking the Galatians. Howbeit then, when ye knew not God, ye did service unto them which by nature are no gods. But now after that ye have known God, or rather are known of God, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto you desire to be in bondage? He said, in times past you worship what by nature wasn't a God. And I think what he means by this, you were worshiping things that were impossible candidates for God to any thinking mind, and to any mind that was acquainted with and respectful of natural science. These gods they worship were weak and beggarly. All right, now, natural law is based in reason, and it's based in conscience. And anyone who denies it either has a deranged mind or he's headed that way. All right, now listen to this verse right here. I only got a couple more to read. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them up to a reprobate mind. That means a trash mind, a mind ready to throw in the wastebasket, to do those things that are not convenient. And here's where we got to make some adjustments for Old English. If I talk about something being convenient today, I mean it's handy. But in Old English, that's not what it meant. Think about the word to convene. That means to come together in a purposeful way. That's what we've done here tonight. When the Old English talked about something that was inconvenient, it meant things that don't come together. They don't jive. They're inconsistent. They're self-contradictory. He said when men don't want to think about God anymore, don't want to acknowledge a natural law anymore, don't want to submit to it anymore, the next thing you're going to start seeing is crazy thinking. Reprobate mind. Hypocrisy, contradiction of self. Well, let me tell you, we're dealing with plenty of that in our world today. All right, now, the most famous commandment of all time, the Golden Rule. Think about it. The Bible calls it the law of liberty, but it's commonly known as the Golden Rule that Jesus Christ gave. That's sort of a bridge between natural law and the positive law expressed in Moses. Jesus said all the law hangs on these two principles. But these two principles are reasoned much as natural law is reasoned. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, and strength. And he said the second commandment is likened to it. Really, the way you obey the first one is by doing the second one. That's how you do the first one. You do the first one by doing the second one, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, or, as he put it in Matthew 7:12, therefore all things, whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. It's a principle that is really natural law, but it's beautifully complementary with the positive Mosaic law that is of the Bible. All right, now, for those who want to deny a natural law, a law of conscience, a law of God, and want to take the position that if we legalize it in Jackson or we legalize it in Washington, D.C., it's okay. The only law I acknowledge is man's law, positive law. Then I want you to hear these words from Psalm 2. And I'm going to read this, and we'll be done for tonight. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Well, you know, they're in the streets of America raging right now, aren't they? Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. We will not be subject to the laws of God and his Christ. Now, the next verse is one I think about a lot these days. It says, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. The reason I think about that, every time I see crazy stuff coming out of Washington, I think to myself, am I having to endure all this so God can have some comedy up in heaven? Yeah, he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Well, I'd like to know that somebody's having fun. Sure not me. I see some people in our government, and it seems like everything they do is wrong. And I think to myself, if everything I did was wrong, and everything I said was wrong, I would start to worry whether God liked me or not. Wouldn't you? You know, it wouldn't take a few weeks of that. I'd start wondering, Lord, do you dislike me? He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion, notwithstanding all your oppositions. I will declare the decree. The Lord has said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I will give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear. That's a bold text there, isn't it? He's telling all the kings of the earth, oh, Napoleon and Genghis Khan and Julius Caesar and Alexander the Great, and telling all the justices of the Supreme Court, you better be real careful. You better be real careful. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are they that shall put their trust in him. The Bible teaches that there's a natural law from the testimony of conscience that is above all men and above all nations of men. and it derives its authority from Creator God. That's what I believe. That's what the Bible teaches. All right, let's sing a verse during which you can come forward to present yourself to the church. Brother John, what do you have?
438. 438, please stand on. Rejoice, Lord, 438. 438. So, do, mi, so, mi, do, so, do, mi, so, mi, do, so. Rejoice, the Lord is King, your God and King adore. Mortals give thanks and sing, and triumph evermore. Lift up the heart, lift up the heart, lift up the voice, rejoice aloud. Ye saints, rejoice, rejoice, the Savior reigns, the God of truth and love. When he had purged our stains, he took his seat above. Lift up the heart, lift up the voice, rejoice aloud. Ye saints, rejoice. His kingdom cannot fail. He rules over earth and heaven. The keys of death and hell are to our Jesus given. Lift up the heart, lift up the voice, rejoice aloud. Ye saints, rejoice.
All right, will there be any more that we need to discuss? Yes, ma'am. All right, so Brother Clay Stormont's brother passed, and they're occupied with that. That's the reason the Stormonts are not here tonight. All right. Oh, Brother Gabe has visited us tonight because he's the man that helps us set up our video and audio system. And does a good job. Y'all give him a slap on the back. When you walk past him, I'm very appreciative for what he does. Brother Jimmy Lindsay, will you lead us in prayer?